I challenge you as a believer, let that power get out.
Blind people received their sight. People have been carried in. We're healed. Nobody touched them. Nobody laid a hand on them. We just praised the Lord and spoke the word of faith, and God began to heal the people.
Here's fish.
Yeah, let's go!
Oh my gosh, he's a big.
You landed inside.
He kept me from. Look how massive this is.
The Casting Faith Podcast.
Push on.
Welcome to the show. Today we have a great guest whose job description will be shrouded in mystery. He's a man of few words, but a big impact. Let's just say he's got a knack for making things happen behind the scenes. You probably wouldn't expect it, but he's not your average desk jockey. We might not be able to tell you exactly where he works, but trust us, it's a place where every decision counts. Welcome, my close friend David Hymes, to the show. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
I bet you're wondering why I brought you all here today. well, if we don't make it out of here.
Yeah. If this is our last episode, we're in Sean's basement. I have a story for us today. So this story has a little bit of everything. Fishing, mystery, and one of the weirdest unexplained moments you'll ever hear about. You can decide for yourself if this is real or not, but I guarantee you're going to want to tell something about this after the show. So this guy in Alaska, let's just call him Doug. He loves ice fishing. And when I say he loves it, I mean he's out there in the middle of nowhere, no cell phone service, just him and an ice hole. And when I say he loves it,
derogatory term in Alaska.
yeah. When I say he loves it, I mean he's out there in the middle of nowhere, just him and his fishing pole and a thermos of coffee that's probably older than him. So one winter, Doug's out on the frozen lake, and it's pitch black except for a little lantern he's got set up. And he's jigging his line, waiting there for a bite, when suddenly this insane green glow starts shining through the ice, like underneath the ice. Now, Doug's thinking, all right, this is the northern lights under the lake. That's a first. I've never seen that before. But when the glow starts moving, really moving, circling around his hole he's fishing in, at this point, Doug's convinced that he's about to reel in something crazy, like a mutant fish or something worse. He does what any good fisherman does, and he stays where he's at, and he continues to fish. Because Doug's thinking, if I catch this thing, it's going on the wall. I don't care if it's glowing or not. And then all of a sudden, his line bends over, and the pole is streaming reel. And he's thinking, I got it. It's on. And he's pulling for dear life for whatever's on the other end of this line, putting up a fight. And finally, he gets the thing to the surface. And what pops out of the hole? A weather balloon. Oh. What pops out of the hole? A weather balloon. Doug's standing there confused, holding this deflated, glowing balloon like he just pulled in a world record fish. Turns out some scientists at a research station 20 miles away had been tracking this thing, and it got caught on Doug's fishing line when it fell out of the sky and into the lake. But here's the thing, and it gets weirder. When they analyzed the balloon, the data collected was scrambled with some strange signals that they couldn't explain. Doug swears that day that he caught a UFO instead of a weather balloon, but instead of flying away, he decided to go into this fishing hole. So next time you're out fishing and you think you got a catch of a lifetime, just remember it might be a glowing weather balloon sent by something else, or it just might be Doug's luck rubbing off on you.
Wasn't there a weather balloon that just flew over the country or
Oh,
something?
yeah, that was a
Or
couple.
was it a spy balloon.
China balloon. Yeah. So I just thought that story fits this episode because we're going to talk about some things that me and David experienced when we went fishing. And so David and I have been friends probably since we were 9 years old. We've had a lot of stories and fishing trips and different childhood memories that we're going to dive into today. But this was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah. So I'll let you tell this.
Yeah, so pretty much whenever I'm on this show, it's probably going to get kind of weird. Love it.
Hey, wait for a second. Pastor, when I sent the guest list to Pastor for this year, it had a description for every one of our guests. And yours, it was like avid fisherman, childhood friend, loves evangelism, citywide reach, different things like that. And it said topic for episode UFOs. And he approved it.
Let's go.
I don't think he actually read it.
Yeah.
But he approved it.
UAPs.
What does UAP stand for? I don't even know.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yep, that's the churched up term to the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2020, me and Charlie had gone fishing. So one of the things that we really liked to do growing up was catfishing. It's something that kind of formulated our love for fishing. You know, just going out and sitting on the bank, starting a fire, catching fish, Justin roasting chicken livers on a pop can he found in the woods, and
Yeah, that was
probably
weird.
developing some sort of disease along the way.
That's
It's
where
gonna rear its
COVID
head
came
up in
from.
the 70s. Yeah, that's probably where COVID started. Forget China, forgot the Wuhan lab. That's probably where COVID started. But I digress. We started catfishing when we were young, and that's really what formulated our love for fishing as we grew older. And we're catfishing. This is 2020. You know, everybody's locked up. The scare starts to wear down a bit. We decide we're going to go camping. We're going to take the kayaks out on the lake. And we're going to go to an island. We're going to catfish all night, start a fire, cook some fish, camp there for the night. And then we're going to come back, bring whatever we have left over to the family. We had a good night. I don't know if this is the same night that
It is.
yeah. We had a stringer full of probably about 25 pounds of catfish.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good size, healthy, good fish, big fish. I go to put one more on the stringer. Charlie's fishing on the other side of the island. And I say island, it was a small island. It wasn't anything big. But Charlie's fishing at the other side of the island. I got one. I'm going to put it on the stringer. I go to grab the stringer, and the stringer is just completely broken. Like the line is snapped. The tie to the log that we had it on is still there. The rest of the fish are not. And so I walk over to Charlie, and I said, hey,
Yeah.
the stringer broke.
I remember this. I was doing something, either trying to start a fire or I was like getting ready to prepare for this fish. We had like batter and different things that we were going to cook this fish in. I remember him walking up and he goes, the fish are gone. And I went, yeah. And he goes, no, they're really gone. And I went, nuh-uh. I was so excited because we were doing a catch and cook and we were camping out on the island. And he comes back, fish are gone. I'm like, no way. They're gone. So yeah, that was disappointing.
But it led for a great story. I mean, we got a couple more fish. We ended up eating. We decided to call it a night kind of early, head towards the tent. And it is 3:00 in the morning. Both of us wake up out of a dead sleep, just look at each other. And at that point, we're really up. There's not going back to sleep. It wasn't like, one of those moments you need to drink of water or whatever. It was, you're awake now. We're not going to go back to sleep. There's no point in packing up the tent in the morning and just poking around the island. Let's just pack up now. Let's put it on the kayaks. Let's paddle across the lake. Head home. Let's just cut our losses. We're not going to get any more fish in the morning anyways. Let's just head back home. So we do that. We pack up the tents. We get the kayaks loaded. We start paddling out on the lake. And it is 3:00 in the morning, probably 3:15 at this point. Late summer, I'd say probably September, I think. We're paddling across the lake. The lake is like glass, like literally no movement on the water. Nobody else out there. Paddle one time and you're gliding for 20 feet. You don't have to do much of anything. And we look off in the distance and we see a white light flashing on the water. And it flashes three times. It's just flashing like the standard, the SOS signal, what you would think somebody's in distress.
We thought somebody's signaling. Maybe somebody's hurt. Maybe something happened. Because it's like we're on the opposite side and we're seeing this like glowing light just flicker.
Yeah, and it's across the lake. It is to our right, I would say, far to our right, but it is across the lake to the point where you can't tell where it is. We didn't have any lights on us. We had like our headlamps, whatever, but they're turned off. It was like perfectly clear at that time of night, so there wasn't really any need for a light to be on. You could see with the moon's glow. And I looked at Charlie and I said, I'm not sure if that's somebody that needs help. What do you think? We talked about it for a few minutes. We both decided if somebody needed help, they'd be making noise. And we really didn't have any way to defend ourselves. We didn't plan for anything like this. If something's really going on, we need to be wise about this. So if we hear noise, we'll do what we can to help out. But the light stopped eventually, and we kept paddling. We decided, let's be as quiet as we can in case somebody's trying to do something silly here. We paddled back towards the dock. And the light now is on the other side of the lake. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was weird too because when we got up, I remember one time before you had gotten up and you said the fire's up again. Like we're about to catch the island on fire. Like, how you put it out before you go to bed. He got up at one point in the night and he's like, the fire. And we both got up and he had stomped out the fire and put some water on it or whatever. And we went back to sleep for a little bit. Then when we both woke up at around 3:00, like he said, we were wide awake, ready to go. And it was just such a weird night that we were like, let's just go home. And when we had gotten on the water, it was like glass. So as this light is flashing, the water was like glass. There was no waves, no wind, no movements. And you kayak, so you know like the difference between paddling against the waves or the wind.
Yeah.
It didn't take much effort to get from one point to the next point because it was eerie. Like it was just quiet. There was fog coming up off of the water, and you would look across and it was just like glass. So we were just floating through. The only ripples were from our paddles. We start paddling back. We seen this light, this weird thing. It was on, when we first saw it, it was on one side of the lake, but when we started to paddle back, it had moved to a different side. Started on the right, and then the dock was on the left. And so we get towards the bend, that cove towards the dock, and we see the light again, but it's on the opposite side, which is weird.
Like instantly too, like not like you saw it progress across the lake. It was from the right side to the left side, and it's flashing 3 times again.
Which is the SOS.
So my first thought here was you're seeing a reflection from like a cell tower, but that can't move.
It's not done. This is not where the story ends. Yeah.
And I mean, you've been out on that lake. There's no cell towers around it.
Where are we talking?
Mogador.
Oh,
Mogador, yeah.
Okay.
So we quickly paddle back to the dock. We land as quietly as we can. We're going to pack up as quick as we can. We don't know what's going on here. And all of a sudden, we hear a noise, and we look up. Charlie, you do the best imitation of this noise.
All right. Yeah. So we get towards the dock, and we hear this sound, and I'm doing the best I can here.
And that's
like a motor?
And it's nothing is around. There's no boat. There's no building. There's no lights. There's like one like street
Or like
lamp.
a UFO.
I'm not
saying it was.
I'm not
saying it wasn't.
I'm not a believer, but you know, that was the sound though. Like
The Tesla like reverse
it
noise.
was so loud, Sean.
Wow.
Like it wasn't like some feedback in a mic or just. It was like a pulse that you could feel it almost vibrating.
Oh yeah.
It was so weird.
We should go out there tonight.
And then it stopped.
I know what everybody's thinking. It was a drone, and you guys are crazy. It was not a drone. There was no drones up in the sky. We looked up. We didn't see anything.
I did not look up.
I looked up. I didn't see anything.
I was a little nervous to look up.
Because I didn't see anything. And also, it's 3:30 in the morning in Ohio in September. There's no need for it. Why would somebody be flying a drone around a dark lake at 3:30 in the morning?
And it did this weird thing. So it's like wah 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 wah, and then when it stopped, it went do 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 do, just like that, like a musical melody.
And then it was gone,
and it was done.
Yeah, like silence.
And I look over, like, because I'm like, it's 3 a.m. I didn't get good sleep. We ate some fish from this reservoir. Like we did our best. I'm sure it was cooked all the way. But I look over at David, and his eyes are the size of like $50 coins. And I'm like, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." And I went, "Okay, well, let's get to the car before I get abducted." Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm not like I have an open mind, but I'm very firm in my beliefs. Like with. I don't think that, I don't know, but it was just weird. And everyone that we've told this story to has been like, you guys are dumb. Aliens aren't real. Which, like, I'm not saying they're real. I'm not saying I believe, but like, that was weird to be out on Mogador Reservoir where there's it's not even like.
Where was this? Was this by like the bait shop?
No, it was the other side of the lake, and about a half mile off the road.
The boat ramp?
The Tickner one.
The Tickner boat
that's
ramp.
out in the woods?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, that's creepy.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
I'm saying.
Because like we were like, okay, well, drones were starting to pop off during that time, and everyone that we've told this story to, dude, it's just a drone. But like you have a drone, it doesn't
Drones don't make that noise.
It doesn't go wah wah wah.
You could barely hear a drone.
No. And so even if it was like a government drone, I don't understand why would they be. What would be the point? I don't know if we were I'm sure we were probably breaking a law or two just by camping out.
Oh, we were.
On that.
No, we
Laws
weren't.
don't get broken on this podcast.
No. But like there would be no reason.
Except for Charlie's taking too many fish home.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But it was just weird. It was one of those things where like is this one of those things where people experience weird things? And, you know, are we about to be on one of those Netflix specials, you know, like what's about to happen?
It wasn't but the next day that Fox Mulder and Dana Scully showed up at the door and had questions.
It was a weird thing. And I think too, like, we have your gut feeling. I could see it on your face. You're smiling and you're like, you guys are dumb. Like,
No, I'm just thinking like, I want to like research how many people have gone missing on Mogador now.
Probably like 0.
Not us. Not us. It wasn't us. We didn't disappear. We got in my Santa Fe and drove off. Like,
So I wonder, like, all right, hear me out.
I'm hearing you.
There's an oil well like 100 yards off my back door here. And it has like a womp womp sound, like, but it's not loud. Right. So I'm thinking like out in the woods, like what's out there that
does it turn off instantly?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have a chime to it when it ends, when it closes? Stops?
I don't
It had like, it
He's
was
shaking his head for people that can't see.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was a weird, I was just so like
I'm just curious, like if we went out and explored the woods there, like what are we gonna find? You know, like is there something?
Probably a crash site.
I'm just thinking, like, you know, first of all, why us? You know, like we're just camp.
Or is it every day at the same time that it happens? Like
Only one way to find out.
exactly.
We have not been camping there since.
Yeah,
No, we haven't.
Because it was just weird. Like the whole trajectory of the night was like we were having great time. It was the summer. We were fishing. We were kayaking. We set up camp. We started fire. We made these. I think they were like fish tacos. Because I had caught. This is gonna get me canceled.
Yeah,
But
you're already canceled. You're talking about UFOs.
No. We need to have a open mind when we talk about things like that. But no, this will get me canceled because I had caught he had caught one and I had caught one largemouth bass. And that is what we had for dinner because the catfish,
It's gross.
it tastes the same.
It's gross, dude.
So all of the bass fishermen just unsubscribed. But like,
yeah.
I will
Chase
let
is
you know
gone.
I am not a bass fisherman. I can't stand it. I think it's boring.
yeah,
But that's neither here nor there.
I think it has its place. But we cooked up these bass. We fried them up. Fish tacos. I had this like, it was from Fowler's Makery in Mischief. He has this like Chipotle hot sauce, and it's really good. It was really good on that. We had this awesome experience. And so it went from such a positive thing to waking up at midnight to the fire, like almost catching the island on fire. And then just that weird experience with the light, the weird ball of light that was just flashing from one side. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. But my mind didn't go, that's a UFO.
No.
Like my mind went, somebody is signaling with their headlamp that they're in trouble. And that's what we thought. We weren't carrying. We didn't have any protection or anything like that. And so we were like, let's just get to the dock. And when we were circling around, the light had moved from one side of the lake to the other, which was weird. And then that sound was so loud and it was vibrating. And it wasn't, everyone, like I said, everyone we've talked to said it's a drone, which I'm not saying it wasn't. It could have been a drone.
It could have been a drone.
But it was just so loud and weird because nothing's out there. So I think that it's just one of those stories like that we'll always have to tell our grandkids and be like, we saw Bigfoot. You know, it'll be like that kind of a story that nobody really believes, but we both experienced, we both saw it.
Where did the noise come from? Was it like
Above
on the
us.
same little peninsula that
No, it was
On the ramp.
Yeah, it was on the ramp, but it was above us. It was in the air. It was definitely coming from above.
Oh, wow.
But you couldn't see any. Like I didn't look up, but he looked up and didn't see. We didn't see any saucers or anything, like no lights or anything like that. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it was definitely weird.
There's a weird experience, but one of my favorite fishing
for sure.
stories.
I'm
fishing
Google
stories.
Earthing it. That's why.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. No, it's just there's nothing
right
out
there,
there.
over the. We were standing right next to the dock and where you land the kayaks in the mud, essentially.
It was really weird. We didn't really have an answer for that. And everybody that we've told this story kind of gives us this like, you guys are weird. You believe in aliens. You're believers. You're into weird things. And I think that's funny. And I'll talk to this for a second, is that we're believers in God, right? We believe in angels. We believe in demons. We believe in Satan. We believe in the supernatural infilling of the Holy Ghost. We believe in healings and signs and wonders. and we believe in all these things. But anytime somebody who is a non-believer has a spiritual experience that can't be explained, we're so quick to say, you're crazy.
Yep.
You're a nut job. What I really think is actually happening with all those types of stories and events is people are just experiencing something spiritual that they have no understanding.
Yeah. I would
And so
agree with
they're
that.
being deceived rather than they're not really being abducted by aliens, but they're probably having a like a spiritual encounter. They have no grounds to understand. And so what has society groomed people to believe in through the X-Files and Area 51 and all these alien movies and all this? It's been a thing since we were kids, and we always
even before. Yeah.
we always loved those sci-fi movies and those things. That's something about our childhood that we always dabbled in, and it was fun for us growing up. We were like fascinated with that, and not just that, but the mysterious stuff. Like we were big into DB Cooper and his thing, and and we were big into like the Zodiac Killer and all these things. We would have like all of these things that we fascinated about, right? And growing up though, like becoming an adult and seeing this blow up on social media and all these things, and being a minister and growing in my faith with God and all of these things, have a relationship with the Lord. That's how I feel about this. It's not just people are crazy and quacky. It's that they're experiencing something supernatural. They're experiencing something spiritual, but they have no base understanding for what is going on. And so they go to what is familiar to them, which is all those things that we just said about UFOs and stuff.
Well, you look at like Ezekiel, the wheel within a wheel. Do we know what he was seeing? He was just describing it the best he could. I'm going to preface what I'm about to say by saying...
Canceled. He's canceled.
I don't know if this is something spiritual that happened. Yes, it 100% happened. I will vouch for Charlie till the day I die. This did happen. I think that the spiritual realm and the physical realm are a lot closer than people let on. I think that we just kind of dismiss it. But really, when you read through the Bible is a supernatural book. A lot of crazy stuff happens in the Bible, and we believe the Bible. We believe that stuff happened. So if we discount, like Charlie's saying, some of the things that people say, just saying that they're kooky, maybe they did have a spiritual experience and they just don't know how to explain it.
And like I said, we believe there were giants in the land.
Mm-hmm.
We believe in the falling angels. We believe in angels, which are beings that existed before we did with God, before create. Like it gets deep, and we'll never know what is all the whole big picture until we're in heaven.
Right.
We'll never know the bigger picture,
Let me just say this as well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but none of this has to do with salvation, by the way. This is just, it's fun to speculate. It's fun to think about, to try and decipher, get a better understanding.
Yeah, I agree. And that's important too. Like none of this is doctrine or anything like that. And it's just speculation. It's just a fun thing to talk about. But what I believe, and we'll get into the Bible portion a little bit here pretty quick, but what I believe is that we have to be careful on two fronts as believers trying to reach the world. We have to be careful not to be deceived, and we have to be careful not to dismiss people who have real experiences.
Yeah.
And so whether they understand what that experience is or not, we can't just dismiss people. Well, that's a quack. They're crazy. Well, that crazy person needs saved. Those crazy people have a very real experience to them that they need answers for. And Jesus is that answer. Jesus is what they need. And we can't just dismiss people. And we also can't be deceived when weird things start popping up in this end time, right? Like, I think that's the biggest prayer of mine for myself, outside of what I want to see in ministry and for my family and all these things. But the biggest thing for myself is, God, don't let me be deceived. In this hour, in this end time hour, don't let me be deceived, because we're living in a time where there are drones and there is AI. Like AI has rapidly grown so fast that it can develop a program, a video that is better than the TV that we watched growing up. That's a recipe for deception. They're getting to a point where they'll be able to make whole movies without actors. And it's like, man, and we're so programmed to receive entertainment. Talk about a recipe for deception. Like we won't be able to tell if who we're watching on the news is actually the president or not, because it could be AI generated. Like we won't be able to know. We're quickly getting to the point where we won't be able to see and distinguish what is real and what is not, which is wild.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of
safeguard.
Yeah, something's got to be placed on it. I think it was, I read recently, I think it was Bruce Willis that sold his name, image, and likeness, the NIL, for, he's sick and he's not doing well. But so they can make movies with him after he passes on with his AI likeness, which is just insane.
It's crazy.
And it's weird too, because think about that from like, he's done a few voiceover animation movies. Endless amounts of animated movies could be made with an actor. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you were to tell somebody that when in the 90s, when we were growing up, when like the concept of FaceTime was just silly.
Yeah.
Like Jetsons level things, like, but now you can copy your voice or you can record full amounts with you not even being there. And it's just AI generated. Wild. There's movies on this. Yeah. Like it's crazy.
It's like we've been primed for it.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Isn't there? Never mind.
Go for it.
I'm still stuck on the.
We're already weird.
He's still
We're already
looking.
weird. Just stay here.
All right.
Sean is still looking at Google Maps.
No,
trying to.
I'm reading forums now. There's Mogador Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that have heard the noises.
No way.
Let's go.
All
right.
let's dig in.
Validation.
Hold on. Here's one guy's story from 2011.
He's like, there was these two guys
at 1 a.m.
floating down the river.
1 a.m.
My boat was broke down. I was trying to flag him down. They just kept going.
He said, going fishing at Mogador Reservoir off Rainfield Road late night around 1 a.m. We had caught a couple catfish, 7-pound and a 15-pound. My truck
Probably the ones that we let go.
truck was parked 20 feet behind us. Throughout the night, I heard tree knocks and calls not common to the area. When we heard a few getting
squatchy.
closer, we decided to leave. When I went to back of the truck where we kept our gear and the fish, the 7-pound catfish was gone. We looked around the truck in the area to see if it had hopped out and saw nothing. While searching, my partner was hit on the chest with a small rock, leaving a $1 mark.
No way.
Yeah, so there's your fish disappeared.
Yeah.
You heard some weird.
Maybe there's something in the catfish in Mogador Reservoir.
Well, apparently, aliens and Bigfoot really like the taste of catfish.
The witness has an interest in Sasquatch. You guys aren't laughing. You think that's serious? that's so funny.
I'm just listening to the story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Lord, don't let me be deceived.
There's
The
something.
Mogador Triangle.
There's something to be read around Mogador Bigfoot.
I don't know. It's a while.
High strangeness on the Mogador Reservoir.
Man, that's weird that we're not the only ones. Because Mogador Reservoir, I've been fishing there my whole life. Go for it.
So this person described it as a weird siren-like noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not a police siren or an ambulance siren or even a fire truck siren. The thing scared me the most is the fact that it came from above, not down where the street is.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Somebody somebody in this forum on Reddit said, let me get the facts straight. 2 a.m., scary siren overhead, moving. Sounds like you got yourself a bit of a Silent Hill style situation going on.
man.
Were there creepy monsters outside?
Oh.
And then somebody said a care flight or something like that. It was like,
Oh, like a.
wouldn't that be like a helicopter?
Yeah.
Or something
Yeah.
Like that?
It didn't sound like that.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't a helicopter, but now, I mean, hearing it described like a siren, that makes sense. Like a slow, pulsating siren. Yeah.
It was so weird. Boo-doo-doo-boo.
So there's also in that area. There's also overhead power line, like the power line that runs through there.
There's like maybe one.
Yeah, it's like if you go left
That
out
there's
of that
no-
cove instead,
Oh, okay. So you are you
and
saying
it
you
like
looked
runs
up?
towards Talmadge.
Yeah, maybe it but even like I've seen Transformers blow.
Yeah.
No.
Definitely wasn't that.
It wasn't that. It was such a weird, unique sound to where, like, if you were to say, let's mess with these people, play this alien noise, that's what I would have like imagined it to sound like. So it was just weird. And like I said, I'm not saying I'm a believer. I'm just saying we had a weird experience that can't be explained.
Yeah.
And so it's just weird. It's time for Reel of the Week. And in keeping with our weird theme of this episode, I found a reel, and this is probably wide common knowledge by now. And by the time this airs, we probably have some more information on what this actually is. But have you guys seen the reels of the drones in New Jersey,
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to describe it because I'm not sure we can play the reels. We're going to have to find a way to do that, but like copyright and stuff. So this is the reel in description, okay? So there's this viral story making its rounds around social media right now, and it involves drones. In a small town in New Jersey, a whole lot of what in the world is going on here is happening, okay? So in the sky at night, people are seeing kind of like what me and David described in our camping story, but they're drones flying around in the air, and they're lights. Like these balls of lights are showing up with these drones. And it's not just one person and a fishing trip gone wrong like us. It's multiple accounts of these drones going around. It's like something out of a spy movie or one of those nostalgic movies we were talking about earlier, those sci-fi movies. You might think, what in the world is going on? Are these something from another kind, or is this just drones, or is this a government thing, or is it just a prank that got out of hand? Is it weather balloons? What is this? And it all started on a regular night in a New Jersey suburb. People were going about their business, doing whatever it is that people do in New Jersey. Maybe, isn't that where Fred's from? Maybe Fred can enlighten us about that.
I would
next time
think
he's
that
on.
they do similar things to the things we do in Ohio.
You can't pump your own gas in New Jersey.
Really?
I also think of the Jersey Shore, and I think of like spray tans and
See, but I don't think Fred Parrott. But I think New Jersey.
no, I do not.
Maybe he's from, I don't know, maybe it's different. I don't know. Probably getting coffee at their local, doing normal things, binge watching old shows. And then around midnight, a swarm of drones show up in the sky. We're not just talking about a couple drones flying around aimlessly. No, it was full blown, just fleet of drones flying in the sky above. Hundreds of drones were seen flying in perfect formation, covering massive amounts of area in the sky, moving in patterns that didn't seem to make any sense, and people were freaking out over this.
They were also moving, defying physics
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're familiar.
and speed. I'm only familiar because I heard a podcast where a guy very familiar with he
These weird
was a
things.
fighter pilot talked about his perspective and what he thinks is going on. But yeah, it's
weird.
So one of the things I
definitely
heard
weird.
too was that when like light gets shown on them, they shut their lights off, which is super weird too.
That's so weird.
it was weird.
But
Yeah.
but Sean, you're a drone pilot,
yes, licensed by the FAA.
my man. We're gonna get some sick footage of Mogador Reservoir.
I might lose my drone
there's
then.
a feature film coming out over Mogador Reservoir.
Yes. What in the world did we hear? But
We should do. Okay, we should do that. That'd be a great YouTube episode.
if you're interested in that, leave a comment and we'll make
just
it
like
happen.
us three just go explore around Mogador, like
Be
in
awesome.
the woods, and
I'm all in. We'll take
In
you.
Bigfoot costumes.
Bigfoot hunting. You know,
We'll take you the exact island, the exact route. Maybe we'll catch some catfish.
There's some stories about that island.
Wow.
We're
The
not gonna
tiny
get
one?
into them on the podcast.
is it the tiny one that's like right around the right?
It is,
No,
it
it's-
is named Pooper's Point for a reason. Cut.
No.
Yeah, it's the smaller one. It's not the big island out on Mogador. But
But as a drone pilot, you don't really fly drones at night.
No, to fly drones at night, you have to have a light that's visible for 3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
From 3 miles, and that's not something that comes stock on a drone. You have to add that.
Right.
I think it's three or 5. I think it's 3 miles visible from 3 miles away.
So weird though, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why
You
would
wouldn't be flying a drone at night unless it was
but these drones aren't showing up in the daytime.
night vision one.
they're also
Thermals.
the size of SUVs. People are saying too.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
But the way they move isn't a drone. Like
No.
it's not like something a drone could do. Like,
That we know of. Yeah.
and they have no heat signature.
Well, think
And
about
so to move that fast, for like how they're describing
Yeah,
it,
so
like,
there's, like,
there
no-
would be heat coming from those
right. The
motors.
propulsion that they would be
Yeah.
using would be generating some sort of heat.
And they have no heat signature.
Right.
and,
Weird.
And we're crazy because the Wah 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 story. This is all happening right now. Just a few years later, we're seeing weird things. But it's weird that they're not showing up at all the things that you said. It's weird
Yeah.
that they're moving the way they're moving. It's a technology that really can't be explained to us. But think about how quickly AI developed, right? It's only like within the last few years that this has started to pop off. But it's probably been a thing that's not been open to the public for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's this big gap of what's out there and available to what actually exists and capabilities. And again, back to like people experiencing strange things. It doesn't always have to be some nefarious thing. It's just something that they don't understand. because it's not widely available or common, or people aren't familiar with it, right? So like if we were to go back to 1992 and show somebody the iPhone 13 and the FaceTime capabilities, you would probably be like mobbed for that technology. You know what I mean? Like their minds would be shattered. They wouldn't be able to understand what was going on with that. And so I think it comes down, again, don't be deceived. Don't easily be deceived. But these people are freaking out because they were just standing there watching these float overhead like something out of a sci-fi movie. And of course, people got footage of this, and most of it came out blurry or just pixelated or weird. But that didn't stop the stories from flooding in. People are posting online. It's hit podcasts all over the place. It's like a viral topic right now about these weird sightings.
Something's definitely going on.
Like, what are they? Who's controlling them? Is this some sort of military thing? Are we being invaded by, not like aliens, but is this from, like, remember the China balloon that was supposed to be shot down, wasn't shot down? It was this big story last year around this time, about this balloon that came in. It was like a China balloon, and it was a weather balloon, but it was just a weird thing, like people don't really understand what's going on, but what is this? It's a weird thing. Is it some kind of prank? Is it some kind of military test? But the drones weren't just flying randomly. Some of them were hovering around certain points in town. It's like they're surveying the area.
Yeah.
Tracking moments and movements, watching people, looking for something. And which, if you're looking for something, why are you looking for it at night, and why aren't you looking during the day? Well, because they're trying, my mind, it goes to like, well, they're trying to do this in secret.
Yeah.
And so what is it? One of the things that I heard was like, there's this nuclear bomb that we have had contact with, or we knew about, that has gone missing, and they're searching for that.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And that it's just the government drones doing this. They're just searching for a missing thing.
You know what Donald Trump said about it?
What did he say?
Yeah, I heard this.
I did not.
He said that he knows of it, and he can't.
He said the government knows what's going on. They're just not telling you.
And they should, he said.
Yeah.
Oh. Lord, don't let me be deceived in this hour. That's the prayer, man. Like, it's crazy. Why would they?
With this though, it's so easy. Like with that story specifically, at least for me, like so easy to just go down that fear rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like there's a nuke that they just lost.
Yeah.
That we're looking for. It's on the East Coast.
But that's like a common thing throughout history. There are like Nazi boats, like U-boats, that are outside the coast of Florida. Like growing up, did you ever hear? This is like facts in history. Did you ever hear about that growing up? That the Nazis actually made it here to the United States?
No,
they made it here.
I mean, look at like just cut 2022 when those Russian subs were conducting maneuvers off the coast of Miami.
Yeah,
like
again,
just brushed under
right
the
around that area where the U-boats were found. And so you never heard about that in history because it wasn't told. But it actually happened. There's actually an author, Andy Andrews. He's a Christian author who wrote a book called The Heart Mender that talks about this. It's an awesome book on Audible. He reads it. It's a good book. It's just weird things in history that weren't really told, but actually happened, and it was all kept kind of hush hush during that time because it was a volatile time in history.
Yeah, where
like it was a national security thing where they had to keep it a secret because of what was going on in the world view at that point. And so maybe that's what we're experiencing with these drones. Maybe the government is aware of something that can't be said, and they're just trying to handle it in secret so that there's not mass panic. Or maybe it's aliens. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to think about.
Definitely strange.
It's strange.
I wonder what Art Wilson has to say about it.
Listen, Art Wilson, I love Art Wilson because he talks about these things that everybody's afraid they're going to be canceled or be looked at as I tried to tell this story to somebody at church camp, one of our friends at church camp, and they looked at me with the most like, you're a crazy person look. And I'm not, I'm pretty level-headed.
Well,
I'm not going to just dismiss things, but also like, I'm not going to lose my grip on reality. Like there's an explanation for what's going on. It doesn't have to be.
Maybe it's an explanation we don't know yet, but there's an explanation.
There's an explanation.
I mean, something's obviously going on. I mean, you look throughout history and throughout modern times, and people are reporting similar, if not the same thing over and over again. There's definitely something going on, but do we know what it is? Maybe not. I don't know.
Right. And with this drone story, there wasn't just some vague comments about investigating the situation, but it's like silence. There's not much. There's no like update on this. There's nothing like aside from the podcast scene. No answers, no explanation. Just drones that disappeared mysteriously as they came.
So the only thing that I've heard, like official statement on it, is that they're not a threat. They don't know what they are, but they're not a threat.
Didn't one fall out of the sky?
No, that was not.
That was not real.
That was a
wasn't
plane
real?
crash.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I thought I saw something like.
You probably did. It was reported like that, but it wasn't. It was a plane.
Okay. Because it looked like a plane. It didn't look like a drone.
Yeah.
But again, like they're not flying like drones would fly. But everybody's saying they're drones. So it's weird. You know, as you're listening to this, you might be wondering what's the big deal with all those drones. Was this experiment? Or is the government looking for something? Is this some kind of elaborate prank? Or maybe it's something else entirely, something unexplainable. Whatever case, the people of that town are left with more questions than answers, and so are we. A whole lot of what did we just see moments in this episode. This is a reminder that sometimes the things that we can't explain are just that. They're unexplainable. But no matter how weird things get, we keep going and we keep questioning to keep our faith in this journey, because sometimes even in the unknown, we're still guided. So my point, like with this episode, is to just show people like weird things are going to happen. We're in the end times. Weird stuff's going to happen. Read Revelations. It's going to get weird. But keep your grip on reality. Keep your faith. Cast faith, and even in the weird moments, right?
Shameless plug there.
Yeah. Cast faith into the weird things. Like there's a faith-filled explanation for everything, and we can't be afraid to talk about it. Don't become a quack and get out in left field, but like maybe we have to play left field a little while just because things are happening that's weird, right? There's a Bible lesson that I would like to talk about just for a moment. You mentioned the wheel within the wheel, which is fitting for this episode, but also just about this Bible story that I'm about to find and read real quick. It's about like perspective in those moments that are unexplainable. And when you're feeling that, the immediate feeling for all of this for people is, I should be worried. I should be afraid. Drones are appearing. Bombs are gone missing. Weird stuff is happening. There's a light flashing on the other side of the lake. There's this weird pulsating sound. Our catfish disappear. They're like, there's these moments where like it gets overwhelming is the word, I guess, that I'm looking for. I got to find this story. But it's important to keep a level head during those moments and trust that God is in control.
Yeah.
All right, so the Bible lesson, talk about all this weird stuff that's going on, and the natural feeling is to be afraid or to be, worry about these things, right? But the Bible has multiple views on this, or not views, but like multiple stories about how to handle things that are weird and out there, right? There's a lot of weird stuff going on in our world today. We're seeing drones in the sky, unexplained phenomenons, all kinds of things that make you go, what is going on? What's going on here? You see all kinds of things nowadays that are unexplained. And it's really easy to get worried or freaked out over this. But, this stuff is not new. Nothing is new. The Bible says nothing is new under the sun.
Right.
And there's something from the Bible that will help us navigate these strange times. We should use it because that's part of who we are as faith-filled people. We should lean on Scripture and lean on Bible, especially when things out there are kind of unexplained, right? Because there's a bigger picture at play that we can't always see, and we may never see the big picture completely. God's ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are higher than our ways. We may never understand the depths of everything. Our finite minds can't understand everything that is of God and all of his ways. We just need to remain faithful in these moments and be able to navigate these moments without just dismissing it, right? And so there's this story in the Bible about Elijah. And Elijah has somebody with him. One of his friends is with him. And they wake up one day and they step outside and they're surrounded by an army. Okay. And so they're camping like me and David was on Mogador Island with all the high strangeness in that area. But Elijah and his friend are camping out, and they wake up one day and they look outside their tent and they see a massive army surrounding them. They're outnumbered and they're trapped. Elijah's friend here is losing his mind over it. He is just immediately panicked, freaked out. He's worried. He's losing it. Like, what are we going to do? We're done. This is where it ends. This is where we die. This is how it ends, because it's just two of us in here, and out there's an army on the outside of this. We're done for sure. And Elijah, on the other hand, he's just hanging back and he's chill, level-headed, and he tells them, don't worry. Why are you so worried? What a weird question to ask. You wake up and you look outside and there's an army about to come and destroy you. You get outside the tent and you're looking and everybody's surrounding you and you're getting ready to be confronted by this army. And Elijah says, why are you worried? Why are you worried, man? And he says this, he said, there's more with us. There's more for us than against us. And his friend's just looking around and he's like, there's me and you, right? There's just me and you. There's me and you. What do you mean there's more for us than against us? And so Elijah says this because Elijah had a different perspective of the situation than his friend did, okay? And so Elijah sees something that his friend does not see. He has the perspective that his friend does not have. And so Elijah prays to God and he said, God, please open his eyes so that he can see what I see. And so immediately God responds to this. And he answers this prayer, and his eyes are opened. And his eyes are, the Bible talks about it as if scales are falling off of his eyes. And he can see into the supernatural. For just a moment, he escapes the reality of the realm that he's in, and he can peer into the supernatural. And he's looking out. And when he looks out, when God removes the scales from his eyes, he looks out and he sees a multitude of angelic armies, a big spiritual force, angels and chariots all around them. The reality of the situation is that they were never alone. God was protecting them, even though that the friend could not see it. And so we fast forward today, and that story is so powerful because clearly there's something that we can't see in our natural eyes. Clearly, there's things that we can't understand because we've been shielded from seeing and witnessing it. The Bible talks about that there's a war going on in the supernatural in our lives every day. And so if we fast forward to this day and age, we're dealing with a world full of confusion where everything feels like it's up in the air. And let's be real, all of the drone sightings and the conspiracy theories and the weird phenomenons and the Bigfoots and all these things, they can mess with your head if you let it. And that's why everybody's cautious when talking about these weird topics, is because you can go down a rabbit hole and it mess up your worldview. And that's why I say it's important that we're not deceived. You can have fun and explore these topics, whatever, but understand that God, you have to stay grounded in God and pray that you're not deceived. The Bible tells us in the last day, deception is going to be everywhere. People will be tricked. People will be led astray by signs and wonders. The father of lies is Satan. Satan is the father of lies. He's had this in his back pocket the whole time. He's the master of making things seem real even when they're fake. And now we're in a day and age where AI is fake, and you can create something at the click of a mouse and of a few prompts and a keyboard, and something is created. It doesn't have to be true. I don't even know if the story about the guy Doug in Alaska is even real. It's probably not. With the weather balloon, it's probably not. But you can type
The
in
ice hole?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not Doug. We're filming this in Sean's basement. But things can be just created all out of thin air, and this is a recipe for deception. And Satan has had this in his back pocket the whole time. He's the master of making things seem real even when they're fake. And so when you see all this weird stuff, you got to remember, don't let it mess with your faith. Don't let it mess with your faith. Keep your head on straight. Trust in God, because in all of this weirdness, we're not alone. And it's my prayer that God, for the people that can handle it, take back a little bit of the scales from our eyes and help us to see where we're at. We're in the end times. There's a lot of people that need to experience salvation. They need to experience and have a relationship with God. And so however that can happen and however we can make that happen and help people to that, Lord, help us to do that. But Lord, don't let us be deceived by all the high strangeness and weirdness. The Bible even warns us about this, about to be discerning. In Matthew 24, it talks about how false messiahs and prophets are going to show up. These false teachers and false prophets will perform miracles and signs and wonders. And we have to be careful, because even when stuff feels too weird or out of place, when you're seeing things that make you scratch your head, don't let it mess with your mind and your faith. Take a step back and pray that God can give you clarity and discernment, because if we're not careful, we can easily get swept up in the deception. And so it's not just about avoiding the weirdness, because we're going to get to a point, I believe, pretty quickly where it's going to be unavoidable.
Yeah.
And we have to have an answer because people are going to need an answer.
Yeah,
we can't just say, let's not talk about it, you know?
I think the answer is, I mean, it's right there biblically as well. I mean, when you think about seeing something strange, what my mind goes to biblically is like an angelic visitation. And what's the first thing that that the angels say? It's fear not.
Don't be afraid.
Fear not. It's they're letting you know, hey, we recognize this may be weird, but hey, there's nothing to be afraid of. What's going on here, you don't need to be afraid of it. God is in control. And I think that's the message that can cross over here. I know that in that context, it's about what they're seeing at that time, and we know it's an angel. Fear not. This is nothing bad. But I think that message crosses over to what we're talking about now. There is the coming great deception. There is a lot of strange things that is going to be going on. But I think that angelic message carries over to this of fear not. God is in control, no matter how weird it gets, no matter how crazy it gets. I mean, there's a nuke on the East Coast that these drains are looking for. Fear not. Mm-hmm. As hard as that can be, sometimes we need to cling to that the fact that God is in control.
Mm-hmm. Amen. The election didn't go your way. Fear not. God will raise up and take down whoever in power. God is in control. At the end of the day, don't worry about Ukraine. Don't worry about Russia. Don't worry about China. Don't worry about drones and aliens and Bigfoots and missing catfish. You don't have to worry because God is in control.
Right.
Pray that you can not be deceived. That's my hope for everybody that's listening is don't be deceived. Navigate this with faith. We're talking about a lot of things on this podcast, but the point of this podcast is that through everything in life, you can cast faith into it and you'll be guided through that. Without faith, you're just confused. You have chaos. There's no order. There's no structure. And without faith, it's very hard to navigate these times that we're living in. So,
for sure.
So I agree, man. It's important that we keep level heads and understand that God is in control. And so, David, me and you switch it up a little lighter. Me and you have been friends forever. You've been one of my best friends, I think, since I met you when I was like 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, we've been really close friends. And we've always had this weird drawing to these weird topics, right? Like he's the guy that I go to and be like, dude, did you hear about that? And he's like, yeah. And he's the guy that almost got abducted with me. I'm just kidding.
We made our tinfoil hats together.
Yeah, we did. We crafted our tinfoil hats a long time ago. But as kids, this was our like guilty pleasure was to talk, like to get into these weird things, and we had to learn real quick, like, okay, but that's all fun and well, but you got to keep your faith and you got to like stay grounded, right? Don't get too out there.
Yeah.
And so that's the message to all of our conspiracy listeners.
At what age did you learn that?
Yesterday.
I will tell you what was kind of the gateway, at least for me, looking back at it. We talked about this the other day, but I think the gateway for me, at least.
I know exactly what he's going to say.
It was the Sunday school class, the age that I teach now. We were probably...
Wait. Let that sink in. This happened in a classroom in Sunday school.
Oh, man. We were probably 10, 11 years old. And I'll leave names out. But
let's just say
the teacher was talking about the fall of man in the garden and the serpent that deceived Eve, and was talking about how it wasn't like out of place. Eve didn't think it odd that the serpent was talking to her. And I don't know if it was me or Charlie or somebody else that raised their hand in that moment and said, "So wait a second." These snakes were like people. Like it says that the Bible says that the God cursed them to crawl on their belly. So did they have arms and legs and they could talk?
Clearly, they were talking to Eve. He had arms and legs.
So for the next, I would say probably 6 Sundays at least.
We derailed.
It was snake people. Straight for the 45 minutes of Sunday school, snake people. So was there like a civilization of snake people where Eve wasn't deceived? So they had conversation before. They had arms and legs. They walked around. They talked. What was going on for 6 weeks? Like nothing was taught.
Oh man!
And again, I will leave names out, but we apologize if you're listening.
It was
We
the best.
He doesn't. I do.
The funny
I apologize.
thing, that's because you're teaching that class now. But the funny thing is that at the end of that 6 weeks, we were shot up to the youth group. Probably
That's
a
funny.
year early because they were like, they just won't stop talking about lizard people. And so
That's funny.
they just won't stop talking about lizard people. You need, Brother Carson, you got to get a hold of these guys because they're going down that weird rabbit hole. No. And so we were shot up to the youth group early because of that. That piqued it because you hear that story over and over again. But have you ever really, Sean, really thought about the fall of man?
No,
and that
not
part,
at all.
In that
part
context?
of
The only
Scripture-
time I've ever thought about it is when I've heard this story before.
Wait a second, because if you think about it,
That's it.
It wasn't odd to Eve
it wasn't
that the
weird.
serpent was talking to her.
He had arms and legs. It was communicating, and we know, like it's revealed later, that was loose. That was a
Right.
fallen angel. So are the fallen angels serpent people? Welcome to the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Cue the X-Files music,
Yeah.
Sean.
It's just so me and David, we go way back, and that kind of is what sparked it for both of us, I think. And between that and all the mystery of, like during the time growing up, we used to talk about videography a little bit. We would go to his house, which I live in the neighborhood now, which I never thought that I would
that's
move
weird.
to New Franklin, but I live in the neighborhood that his parents live in now. And back then,
Now everybody can find your address.
that's okay. Welcome to the
It's
show.
all public information.
It's
now.
all right. It's all right. I got nothing to be afraid of. Speaking, this may be another episode, but there are booms in New Franklin. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like booms, unexplained. You can talk to this.
We
'cause-
do live in Ohio, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't heard, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in Ohio.
Mhm. But are you familiar with the New Franklin booms?
I'm familiar with booms all over the state of Ohio. So I know that there are the New Franklin ones. I know that there's Barberton. There's all over.
There's large booms here, but there's a massive, massive arsenal that's 5 miles
Weird.
that way.
So there's that, and
Not
then,
even.
like the explanation has been that it's like clay pots or clay pipes underground failing, like old.
That's a
not in
lie.
use
That's a
anymore.
deception.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what it is here, where we're at now, because I live on 7,000 acres of public hunting land.
There's about 6 deer here.
Yeah. So there's 7,000 acres here, but next to this land, butted up to it is, man, it's got to be like tens of thousands of acres of arsenal. I don't know what it's
So
called.
that would
the
explain-
Ravenna Arsenal.
maybe
It's
explain.
pretty big.
They're shooting off stuff.
Oh, they definitely, sometimes they announce it.
Yeah.
That they send out like a communication to the,
Maybe that's what was
area.
happening in Mogador. We just were not announced that there was going to be some practice.
We were the
deal.
test subjects.
We were the test subjects. But yeah, that's kind of where it started for us, was like that Sunday school class, getting into the weird things, but also like growing up. There's a lot of weird stuff in Ohio.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff in Ohio.
we had the Mothman in West Virginia.
Yes, you do.
Digging into that.
So, all right.
Let's go, Sean.
So
Welcome to the show.
Our church camp was in Point Pleasant.
That's
growing up.
cool.
That's so cool.
In the woods, like probably like 15, 20 minutes outside of any area.
From the
like-
TNT area.
yeah. So
We know about this.
we always would, Mothman is in the woods, dude. That was like the fun thing, like
Yeah.
at church camp when I was younger.
We used to think that the Zodiac Killer was in New
Oh,
Franklin.
Oh,
So, like,
man.
we would-
from California, from San Francisco to
Yeah, he made his way
Northeast
to our backyard.
Ohio.
And so we would go to his.
20, 30 years later, mind you, too.
And it was weird too. His parents would let us stay for weeks. Like it's not normal. Like I would go to
Yeah,
like
looking
the
back on it.
summers. Looking back, I don't like. God bless you, Sister Hymes, because she had me at her house. At one point, I was there for a literal whole week. Wait, like a whole week.
We had fun, though.
We did, and we made a movie once on like. I wish that we've got to find the footage.
No.
I hope it still
No.
exists because
We don't
Justin
need to find
recorded.
it.
We made our own scary movie, and Justin's like with the camcorder. Stop.
It was
Go,
scary,
Yeah,
horrific.
but we had convinced ourselves that there was something nefarious in the woods because his house was back in the woods.
Yeah,
funny.
my parents live. It's back in the woods. It's yeah.
So like Mothman was in the backyard, but we were all into that growing up. Cryptids and
Yeah.
Bigfoot and Mothman, Loveland frog creature, all kinds of things out there. But yeah, you said your camp was in that. So was that a big part of like the dorm wars and stuff? Was it like did they play into that at all?
No, they did not play into that
That's
at
demonic.
all. Well, the leaders were not like our youth leaders now,
Different age.
where it's like fun and upbeat. It was like Anthony Moss was the youth president. It was Billy Cole's grandson. Totally serious, totally spiritual.
Yeah.
And
Nothing wrong with that.
totally focused on what God's going to do and change your lives this week. And
As he
so
should.
shut down everything that was, I mean, at the same time, he did put on a yearly pillow fight. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
so our dorm, it was one long dorm with separate rooms for each church. Like in some smaller churches joined other rooms, but there was this one dorm room that was nobody used. And so we pushed all the mattresses against the wall and we put mattresses on the floor. And we just wailed on each other.
Man, I remember when
Kids got knocked out.
there's this friend. His name was I won't say his last name, but Kevin. He was in our youth group. And we went to church camp one year, and all that kind of stuff happens in Alamo, and or it used to. It doesn't happen anymore. It's super safe. You can send your kids to Buckeye Lake, but it's we were one night. I was on the bottom bunk, and I look over. It's the middle of the night, 3:00, something like that, and I hear this thud. And right after the thud, and Christian wakes up, and I wake up, and I look over. Kevin's on the ground. His arm is broken. He had fallen off
goodness.
the top bunk. And so, like, things happen at camp. Like, as a dorm dad now, it's like you do your best, but it gets wild in those dorms. And so I understand
sleepwalking.
we
Can't find the kid.
Yeah, can't find the kid. Sleepwalking.
No idea where he's at.
But so I understand wanting to keep it serious too, like to keep everybody safe. And
one of those dorms in West Virginia was dorm number 1. So like there's the men's dorm. It's much different than Ohio. There's men's dorm and girls dorm, totally separate areas of the campground. The men's dorm had like 15 to 20 rooms that held 20 beds in each dorm room, like bunk beds. So 10 sets of bunk beds. But dorm 1 was like the workers' dorm. And it was haunted, dude.
Haunted.
a lot of people talk about it.
Which I'm not gonna do what I just said. Like I'm not gonna look at you like you're crazy. But haunted by what?
It was just a thing. So it was
Right.
creepy because it didn't have ceilings. Like maybe less haunted. Just like it was known for being like ornery, and like the rafters were open. And so remember, like all these dorm rooms are in one massive room, but they're separated. But this dorm had access to the rafters, and kids would sneak up in the rafters and throw smoke bombs and stink bombs into each other rooms. It was there was so much. That's
the dorm that all the bad kids went. As a dorm dad, if we had a haunted dorm, I would play so much into that at night. I would freak everyone out. Talk about deception. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway,
but like, talk about that. Like, there are some things, some places, and some things, and we'll have you back on, and we'll get into weird stuff again. I'm sure that everyone's gonna love this episode, but it's a thing.
I'm sure that the new listeners that we got from Brother Robinette shouting us out are
gone,
not listening anymore.
Unsubscribed. That's okay. That's okay. They'll come back. It's all right. No, it's one of those things where, like, I just think that we need an answer for these topics, Like, you gotta be willing to have the conversation and maintain integrity and all those things. But, like, because people experience things. I experience things. I experience things that I've not talked about. I've experienced things that I've only told him. And and we'll maybe talk about that on another episode. I don't know where we're at with time. But, like, it's one of those things where, like, well, if no one talks about it, how can you navigate that? And how can you help somebody? If you've experienced it, somebody else has experienced somebody's experience. So you got to have the conversation. You got to be willing to have the conversation. And look, I reserve the right to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I can be correct. I'm not like dying on this hill, but like you should be able to be willing to have the conversation without being dismissive, because people have experienced things and they need to have an answer.
I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
You're good.
I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier too. The Bible is a supernatural book. And if we shy away from the supernatural, we're shying away from the Bible at that point. I'm not saying that you believe everything that you see or you hear or anything like that. Crazy.
No, we're saying the opposite.
Right.
Like, pray.
Things happen that are unexplained.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's biblical as well. And if we deny that, then where are we at?
Yeah. You got to have the conversation. Be willing to have the conversation. That's my hope for this episode, is that people will be able to hear this and laugh and enjoy it and all the things, but also don't be so quick to dismiss somebody's experience, and have a biblical answer for what they're going through. And if you've experienced something, tell us about it in the comments. Send us an email, castingfaithpodcast@gmail.com.
Get ready for your comment section to blow up with just crazy stories.
Send us some things, send us your weird thing, and maybe we can talk about it, because nobody's talking about it, and there's no reason for nobody to talk about it. We're not saying be crazy, conspiracy, down the rabbit hole people, but like have a biblical response for these things when they pop up. That's all I'm saying. And so we'll end the show differently today. We do have an overrated, underrated segment that I would like to do. This is just something where Sean's going to lead this a couple more minutes, and it's just give us your opinion on these things. That are they overrated? Are they underrated? Or are they just right? And give your opinion on these things.
All right. Overrated, underrated, or
Just right.
something similar. All right. First one we already kind of know. Aliens, are they overhyped, underappreciated in pop culture?
In pop culture?
Pop culture.
I would say in pop culture, it's probably where it should be. I don't know. I think that it has its spurts in pop culture, like where it's overrated, underrated, whatever. I guess if you want to put it in that context.
The Northern Lights, a must-see or just a fancy light show?
Well, what do you think?
And before you answer,
go back. What about your take? Is it over? What do you think about aliens in pop culture?
I don't really have an opinion.
I guess we need more context to that question. Aliens and pop culture. Like, what do you mean in pop culture? Like Independence Day pop culture? Or?
I don't know.
Whatever. It's just
Or like the
I don't know
names.
because I didn't come up with the questions.
Sorry, Jared.
No, I would say aliens are. I would say they're underrated in pop culture. I want more alien movies.
Well, like how the zombie thing played out.
Yeah.
And it was way hyped, and then it just kind of ran its course.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me feels like it ebbs and flows with this. Like it's like a thing where it got really overrated for a while, and then it just stopped, and then it just goes away for a while, and then it comes back.
I feel like the alien thing specifically has to do with technology. Because when did it spike around the 40s and 50s when, everything popped off with the nuclear bomb, and there was the great spurt of technology after World War II. That's when the alien thing really took off. And then, it's back on now. And they call it different things. It's not UFO, it's UAP, and it's.
I love their rebrand.
Right.
They're gonna think we're crazy if we're gotta change it.
So, I think that it kind of ebbs and flows, like you said, but with technology. When there's birth of technology, that's when there's more talk around the extraterrestrial realm.
Nice, agreed.
Okay, the Northern Lights, a must see or just a fancy light show?
So we got to see the Northern Lights in Northeast Ohio
Did
this
we,
year.
though?
I did. I've got pictures.
Was it
I was
through
one of
your
the people that
screen,
was
though?
out. Yes,
Talking
yes,
about,
but
like,
I still got
AI.
to see it.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I would love to see it. I think that would be a must see. I'd like to get to see the Northern Lights. I think that'd be really cool.
My dream vacation or experience is to go to Alaska in a cabin, hunt, fish, and see the Northern Lights. That's a bucket list thing for me. So underrated for me. I need to go see that.
Yeah,
at
I would
some
say
point.
underrated.
Yeah,
How about you?
I say overrated.
You're wrong.
Just my
Mama said you wrong.
just my experience with it in Ohio is probably much different in Alaska.
Oh, for sure, much different.
But
when
you
can
had to
actually,
use your camera just to see it.
No,
It's kind of
imagine
dumb.
if in your-
also
You had to turn the ISO all the way up just
not
to
to
see
get
it.
super weird back into the conspiracy thing, but
Here we go.
why are we seeing the Northern Lights in Ohio? As far down as
We're
North
not,
Carolina.
though. You have to use your phone filter
What?
to see it.
But still, why? What's going on
and
that's amplified to the
maybe
point that we
it's
can see
tied to
it?
the drones.
Maybe. I was going to try and do the X-Files theme with my humming it,
You're
but it
good.
didn't work.
Wah, 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 wah.
Let's get weird again.
All right, ice fishing, adventurous or overrated?
Never do it.
cold
I'm never
misery?
doing it. Never doing it. I didn't even let you finish the question. I'm never going to do it. I love to fish. I love to fish, but do you remember? I think it was like last summer when that reel was going, "Dumb ways to die." Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I want to try it.
Nope.
Under
Thank
the
you.
right. Under the
I don't
right.
thank you for me.
Love to fish.
We're gonna all
but
three do it.
No.
You both said no.
We technically ice fished last weekend.
Yeah, I ice fished on Christmas Eve. I was walking through the ice to get to the
Here's
river.
my scenario.
I
You're
fell
not-
through the ice.
He did. It was hilarious. I wish I had it on tape because it wasn't much water. It was probably like 4 feet of water or something. But like, he's like looking over at me, and it looked like, you know, in the Goofy movie where Goofy's fishing, and like the perfect cast and all that. He looked over at me like he was about to say something, and you just seen right through the ice, straight down, and it just Sean went from his tall self to my size, and it was hilarious.
So, side note for a second, I'm gonna switch it up on you guys. The Goofy movie, underrated or overrated?
That's a masterpiece.
Underrated.
Oh, underrated.
Underrated,
Yeah.
They
for
don't
sure.
make them like that.
That is a masterpiece of American cinema. That is pure 90s.
Cheddar Wissey! I love that movie.
I have both of my kids listening to the soundtrack of the Goofy movie pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's a great movie. They don't make them like they used to.
No, they do not.
All right, drones, high tech wonders or creepy spies?
Both.
Yeah. Needed, but when you think about the implications
Is
of what
it?
they can do.
Is it needed?
And what you're
Yeah.
allowed to do. With
Yeah.
them.
How about that? Let me ask you, as you know, our licensed drone pilot over here, like, are you annoyed that you're regulated different than like what everybody else has?
No, I'm not really regulated different.
Oh, because
I just
you're licensed.
I just have to know the only difference in the license is that you know the laws, right? And you know the airspace that you're allowed to fly in.
So tell me, because you went through that process, little David got his.
Yeah, my son got a drone for
He
Christmas.
got a drone, like a toy drone.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a toy drone.
I don't know. We haven't flown it
It's a
yet.
UAP.
That's the
It's
next.
one of
That's
the
what
ones going around.
when we do the movie, the YouTube over Mogador.
Yeah.
That's going to be what's used.
But it's like, you know, a kid can go out and just fly his drone anywhere
Yes.
without any
Well,
ramifications. That sounds crazy.
Without a license,
You can't go over 200 feet. I
It's
think.
400.
400. Okay.
So are they modded to that level? These toys, can they only go to that spec?
Are they going to get shot down?
If anybody shoots a drone down, that's a felony.
Really?
Yes.
Even on your property?
Yes.
I had a moment with drones.
It is. It's not your property.
Is it like
That's-
the water thing
It
where the
is.
air above your house
the air
is not your property?
That's so dumb.
That is airspace.
I don't like that. So you can film me in my backyard.
100%.
That's so
100%.
Creepy.
wrong.
And then
awful.
on top of that,
I'm
if,
shooting it.
if I'm flying into your backyard, and even if you feel totally just
Who wrote
say
this
you have
law?
say you have a swimming pool
This is
and
making me mad.
you guys want to just go
Yeah.
like swim, you know,
Mm.
and I can fly over your house and record anything I want because I'm in the
I'm
airspace.
shooting
That's
that down.
gross.
I'll get it.
And
a
the
felony.
moment you shoot me down, you're arrested with a felony.
Yeah, that's worth it. Take pictures of me and my family. I think I'll win
That's
that. in
what's
court.
crazy.
I'll win that in
That's
court,
what's
though.
crazy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
That's over.
that needs to
That
change.
needs to change. Whoever wrote that law is a creep.
So they consider it because it's an aircraft. It's the same as shooting an aircraft.
I feel like, have you seen the reels of people shooting at the drones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're not
felony
get-
every
but
time.
they're
Yeah,
not.
I did
They're not
hear that.
arresting
That's a
it.
felony.
That's so wild. Welcome to New Jersey. Like, just,
Yeah,
you know, like,
obviously, like they're like for me, I don't.
How would you know?
I don't like flying over my neighbor. If I'm gonna fly over here, like I'm gonna go up and out to the public land. I hate flying over people's property.
it's so wrong.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
I wouldn't
breaking
like it.
of privacy.
It's scary too when you think about like the drones that they use in like for warfare too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what can they be equipped with?
It's
What-
gonna.
yeah.
Oh, have you seen the ones that burn like the bees' nests out of trees and power lines and stuff?
That's
It's
pretty
like,
cool.
This is why they're like releasing chemicals to alter the mosquitoes'
Ugh.
DNA. Like drones are
Chemtrails.
spraying stuff. Like Pop is listening and he's loving this episode. Like he's gonna freak out over this. But he's been saying that since I was a kid. He's probably a lot of why I think the way I think. Because like he's always had that open mind. But no, I think that's crazy. That law is.
Yeah, that's
that doesn't
weird.
make sense. There has to be some caveat or something.
The caveat is you just can't fly into restricted airspace.
So can you make your area restricted?
Well, how can they
airspace?
own? How can they own the airspace?
So the restricted airspace is going to be anywhere near an airport.
Right.
Obviously over any military operation, but if so, there's like different levels. There's like Class G airspace and then Class A airspace, like in everything in between. So actually in Talmadge is I think it's like Class D airspace, like for Kent State or something like that.
Mm-hmm. There's also
They have a flying program.
they have the airport at Kent, but they also have the international airport in Akron.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So on my drone, like it'll show you the airspaces that you're in, and it'll give you a warning.
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah.
I just don't like that you can film me. Like, remember privacy fences? Like, if you wanted a swimming pool and you could just go out and swim without being.
Yeah. Now you need a
Keep
roof.
Like, can like next one.
All right. Glow in the dark fishing lures, game changer or gimmick?
Gimmick. I tried it with.
I will say that I fished before the sun came up for probably an hour the day after Christmas. The guy that was fishing next to me was there from 4 a.m. and he said he had caught 4.
He was lying.
Probably. He's an old guy.
Be not deceived,
He
Sean.
loved telling stories. He talked my head off.
That's awesome. Do you talk about
weird
sounds of Marketor?
But Steely D's jigs.
Man,
Dan
Dan, you gotta send us some jigs, man.
Dan Zabo has glow in the dark jigs, and he
some.
catches fish in the dark all the time.
Allegedly.
Dan, if you're listening, send us a pack so we can test it out.
Yeah, he might be listening,
And
actually.
We'll write a review. We'll write a review for you.
Yeah. All right. Camping without Wi-Fi, true adventure or unnecessary suffering?
True adventure. I don't even say true adventure. It's just camping without Wi-Fi.
Why do you need it? Other than if you're content creator. Well, you don't even need it for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, sadly, this is becoming a thing that's going to be a thing of the past. It's impossible to be off grid now.
Thanks, Elon.
But I think you should experience nature the way God intended you to experience nature. There's so much light pollution and all kinds of things that ruin it.
There's so much to be said about going out and, just experiencing the outside. I mean, we think back to the youth trip we took a couple years ago at Salt Fork, and the kids getting out to see the stars for the first, not the first time. Obviously, they've seen stars, but
they couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they were just blown away by the amount of stars.
They were
unplugged. It was they're crazy.
Yeah. So experience it the way God intended it.
All right, I think this one's going to be easy for you guys. UFO sightings, legit mystery or attention-seeking stunts?
Legit mystery.
Oh, not as easy as I thought.
I think there's a lot of deception in this area.
I would say it's about 90% people looking for attention.
Yeah.
But the 10% is legit.
Yeah.
We're among the 10% that had a real experience.
We're 10%ers.
Yeah. 10% gang.
Small town diners, best kept secret?
Yes.
Or way too greasy?
No,
best kept secret.
kept
The best
secret.
breakfast I ever had, and I will stand by this forever, is a little hole in the wall place in Kenmore, Ohio. It is greasy as can be, but you get a plate of food about as big as that table for $5, half eggs,
Name 'em.
half home fries, eat and run, bacon, toast, the works. It is my favorite. Like,
Nice.
forget all these health food breakfast places that pop up all over the place.
First watch.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
There's a-
forget that.
There's a place called Denny's. It's so great.
Denny's is gross.
Denny's might be going under, actually. I heard.
But eat and run, hole in the wall, greasy, best breakfast. I will stand by a greasy spoon diner for breakfast anytime.
Yeah.
Like, that is my go-to.
I think that the key word here is hole in the wall.
Yep.
Because franchise places like Denny's. I went to Denny's once when I was a kid. Me and Justin went, and I've never been back. I've literally never been back to Denny's. Denny's, I got fighting words for you. I had the happy face. We used to order, back then I'd call it girl cheese or boy cheese because I thought it was girl cheese instead of boy cheese.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about either, but it sounds gross.
I would order.
I don't want to hear boy cheese.
I've never been to Denny's.
I was a kid. My point is,
You've never been to Denny's?
No.
Don't. My point is, as a kid, I would go and order a grilled cheese sandwich, but I didn't think the word was grilled cheese. I thought it was girl cheese, so I didn't want a girl cheese. I wanted a boy cheese. And so I would either order grilled cheese sandwich or I would order the whatever it's called, the smiley face pancake, right? With the bacon smile and
You
the
had to
eggs.
go to the Grand Slam, dude. The Grand Slam was the breakfast.
This
back in
is
the
what
day.
I would get. I was a kid, and I would get these smiley face pancakes, and they served me this smiley face pancake, and Justin too. He had his next to mine. We both had these big smiley face breakfast pancake meals. We went to look at it. and we poured the syrup on. There were ants all throughout the food. Ants. They were crawling around in the syrup.
Extra protein.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just protein.
And I never went back. To this day, I've never stepped foot into Denny's again because how dare you?
We never had a Denny's in West Virginia. Well, where I grew up anyway. So
Really?
never.
Would
been
you
there.
have IHOP? Or
No.
what was that
There
one
was no
place?
IHOP. We had Cracker Barrel.
I was gonna make a joke about West Virginia, but I'm not going to.
We got a lot of West
It's okay.
Virginia
You're allowed.
listeners.
No, not on the podcast. We love you, West Virginia. No, I go to West Virginia at least once a year. I do enjoy the state of West Virginia.
Yeah,
No hate.
my dad's from West Virginia. He's listening too, so careful. Fighting words.
I feel like the pictures I've seen of you going to West Virginia, you've had like a true West Virginia experience, like riding four-wheelers up the
Yeah, we
mountains
go up-
and stuff like that.
We go up in the mountains in Buchanan.
Yeah.
My
that's fun.
family's originally from crazy story about West Virginia. Not to get too sidetracked, but found out looking back through like my uncle did a bunch of research into our family. Did like the ancestry.com, like the back through the records, everything. The town that my family originated from is 20 minutes from the town that my wife's family originates from in West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
My family is from Junior, West Virginia, and my wife's family is from Buchanan. So,
Nice.
like, literally the town next door. And then, 200 years later, I'm meeting my wife and getting married.
Cool.
It just
That's crazy.
insane. Like, crazy.
That's cool.
Uh,
So you guys are probably cousins then. Just
Yeah.
so you know.
Back to the joke I was going to make about West Virginia.
don't look into it.
That's okay.
Don't look into it. Yeah. Hey, so you didn't have Denny's, but did you have Shoney's?
Yes.
Did you ever go to Shoney's?
Yeah, we went to
Listen,
Shoney's a lot. The
There's
buffet.
still one Shoney's
There is.
in New Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, here in Ohio.
Wow.
Remember Pennsylvania? We'll talk about this on another episode, but the cabin in Pennsylvania. We got to take him to the cabin in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of the cabin in Pennsylvania, apparently there are Bigfoot in that area.
Back to the weirdness.
So back to the drone and the weirdness.
Plural, Bigfoot.
Big
Big
feet.
feet. Do you think that Bigfoot only has one big foot? Or is it two?
I think Bigfoot's a bear walking on its
I do
hindquarters.
too.
That's my theory on that.
I think it's mistaken identity, yeah.
Anyways,
I'd love to believe it,
I
but
want to believe.
There are allegedly bear in these woods, so maybe there's Bigfoot.
Wonder if they make the wah 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 sound. Maybe they took our catfish.
threw a pebble at us.
All right, moving on. Fishermen's tall tales, harmless fun or overly exaggerated nonsense.
First of all, our story, this seems personal, but our story was
This
not
is
a
an
tall
attack.
tale. It was not a tall tale. It was not. I'm sorry, rephrase again.
I feel
everything
like
went black for a second.
The fisherman's tall tale here is Sean's 32-inch steelhead that took the lead over me for this season. That's the tall tale.
It was probably 33. And no, all right. So
Allegedly.
when I caught the one that was 30 and a quarter, on my stick, it measured 28 and 3/4.
Mhm.
So that's like two-ish, 2.5 inches off when I actually measured it. So this one measured 31 on my stick. So give it 2 inches.
Did you weigh it?
No,
Mm.
I don't have a scale.
I got a nice one.
I'm calling it 33 inches.
There we go.
Easy.
Nice.
I'd say right around that 10.5 pound mark.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen them top off at.
I think
crazy.
I've only had one compared to that.
And
it was my
I've-
second.
I caught 3 this year that were over 29 inches.
I've been
Same.
fishing for steelhead since 2010, and I've only caught one that was over 28 inches in that however many years that is.
Mhm.
And this year, I've now caught 4 Fish Ohio
Yeah.
over 28 and 2 in the 30s.
This is a sensitive
Insane.
subject for me because
I'm at 25
Yeah,
fish
I'm
for
at
the year.
two. And David fishes with spoons like me, and he's catching state.
And these are not overly exaggerated nonsense
they're-
fisherman
we
tall
have
tales. These are true.
So I need to get this skunk off of me.
Yeah.
So I will tell a story. So this season, steelhead fishing, I've had obviously my best year. I've caught, like I just said, 3 state Ohio fish. That's over 28 inches in the state of Ohio to be registered. And the first one I got, slow fishing day, Charlie hooked up on one. Not a bad fish at all.
No, it was decent.
No, it was probably
it was close.
a 26, 27-inch fish. It was a nice fish. But I'm fishing the same hole he is, different, thrown in a different direction. Same spoon, green and silver, little Clio 2/5 ounce, hammered. And
I know where you can find one of those if you lose one.
It's
in
up
a
in a
tree.
tree. Brand new. First cast. Straight to the tree.
that's the worst. But I'm casting the other direction. I hook up on a fish, and we're fishing a deep hole. I'd say probably a 7-8 foot hole right on the bank, like instant drop off the bank.
I hook this fish and I'm fighting it, and it's fighting good. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm fishing to keep these fish, so I don't have my drag set to fight them tremendously. Like I want to pull the fish in, I want the meat. And Charlie quite literally jumped in the river to net this fish because he got an eye on it and saw how big it was.
I had talk about perspective. You were at a different level. I was a little bit higher in the.
This is gonna get deep.
Yeah, we're about to get back into our Bible lesson.
We can make two episodes out of this.
Yeah,
There we go.
had a deeper perspective or higher perspective, and so I looked down. And he's reeling this in. I'm like, sweet, he's on one, because I was feeling a little bit bad because I had caught one already, and it had been an hour and nothing was going, and I'm like, man, I really want David to catch a fish, and so he hooks into one, and I'm like, sweet, he's got one, and I look down, and there's a whale in the water, and I went, and I grabbed the net, and I said, I'm going in. And I jumped. I didn't even think. I just jumped down, and it was like when you fell through the ice. I was immediately chest deep in the hole, and I managed to net it. I think it was the first try. I netted it, pulled it in, and we're like amazed. I've never seen a steelhead.
Did you just say your first try netting?
Yeah,
that's your first time ever netting.
No, look, you're looking. This is gonna be a T-shirt. The world's greatest net man, right here.
No, but this fish, it wasn't like. In retrospect, well, I say in retrospect because I got another story to tell after this, but it was 28 inches. It was 10.5 pounds. It was a tank.
It was girthy.
Yeah, there was a lot of heftiness to this fish. But that was a great fish. But then I go back 9 days later with Justin, and fourth cast of the day, same spot. I hook into a fish and I'm fighting it good, and I end up just landing it. We didn't even net it, but I landed it, fighting it for about 5 to 7 minutes, and it is a 31 and a half inch, 10.5 pound buck steelhead. It was huge. It made the fish that I caught the 9 days before look small. And I hook up, I landed, I'm getting it on the stringer. I tell Justin to go cast over there. He's casting over there. Nothing. I wait about 15 minutes before, you know how that hype is after you catch a fish. And I wait about 15 minutes. First cast after that, I hook up on a 29-inch female and land it.
You got the whole family.
Took out a whole lineage.
I carried 20 pounds of fish out that day. I'm just
How long was that?
That was between two fish, too.
Yeah.
State of Ohio, if you're listening, that was legal. That was bag limit. I only caught 2 fish that day. They were just hefty.
We're a little on those law.
I took my survey. I'd like to get it increased. But no, it was a great day. All in the same lure. So little Cleo, if you want to send out some stuff to these guys from their show,
We actually
and they
have
can share it with me.
We have a follower. Let me plug him.
There's been a lot of people talking about how the fish this year
Are bigger.
have been way bigger.
Yeah.
In every system. That I caught that 30 and a quarter out of that same hole that you're talking about. And then the 33-inch fish came out of a different river, like
Okay.
out of Chagrin.
Don't give spots out, Sean.
I'm not giving the spot
He's
out.
already burned them.
These are our spots.
Maxi Spoons follows us. Or Mexi Spoons.
Send them out.
Send them out. We like blue and silver.
We'll fish them.
So we'll
Green
fish
and silver,
'em.
blue and silver.
Try to catch on some big fish with it.
I will not.
No, this is a heated debate between us two. Like, he's been trying to get me on jigs forever.
Dude, all I will say is 25 fish to 2.
Yeah, but
Got
10
8.
pounders, state Ohio. I don't know. I think it's just timing. And
See,
where.
you just got to go fish. That's what it comes down to.
I've just been.
And then yesterday,
I'm on my 5th skunk in a row.
yeah,
I'm
That's the
having a
worst.
hard time.
I've
this
got a full
season.
freezer.
Me
yesterday
too.
was
He's filled my freezer.
yesterday was rough. Yesterday was rough. Just like right now, the water is like at that.
It's weird.
Yeah, like there's not really a good, like Chagrin's too low and clear. Grand is like right on the edge of being
Too
decent.
high. Well, I thought it was high, but
It was definitely high. Well, yesterday I caught 2. One at Grand, it was at 740.
okay. It was 700
high.
when I caught that one the other day at 26. Well, that was only 26 inch,
Yeah.
but it's a fish nonetheless.
They're all in the shallower, faster water.
Yeah,
I had to get like that deep hole.
that's
like,
where I got it though. It's that deep hole.
So above that deep hole, upstream, just a hair, like where that
By
wall
that
starts.
we're gonna give away the spot.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
where the wall starts.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
waited
in
out
Mogador.
halfway out there.
Mogador Reservoir is what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Steelhead and Mogador Reservoir.
they're
Halfway
there.
out there,
Fake news.
fishing the wall. Yeah, they're right up on the wall.
Hey,
Okay.
I heard. I think you told me this. The gorge will fish steelhead soon.
Yeah,
Within the next like 5 years.
You think?
Something
How
like
long?
that.
they're up there now. There's
Are they?
steelhead in the Cuyahoga system. but they're kind of strays, but they're up there.
They stocked them recently though.
So one thing that I did, I just said I took that survey from the state of Ohio. I'm not sure if you guys got it, but I took it, and one of the things that they're like, do you have any suggestions? Brown trout and salmon. Why aren't we stocking them here?
Yeah.
Like, is the water not cold enough? Is the rivers not like? Give us some more sport fish. I know we've got walleye, we've got muskie here in Ohio, and steelhead obviously, but give us some more here. Like, I want the brown trout, not just the strays, not just the stray co-hosts from New York. Like, give us some good fish in Erie.
I can't remember who I was talking about this with, but I think it's so we all are law-abiding fishermen, right? Fishermen.
Mm-hmm.
We pay for our license. I even pay multiple years at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I'll do multi-year license. I abide by bag limits.
He's a poacher.
I'm not a poacher. I abide by bag limits all the time. As silly as I think they are, but there are some rules that don't make sense. And so one of these is like Little Turtle Pond is a pond out by my house that it's mostly meant for dads to take their sons fishing at, right? Yeah. Adults aren't supposed to fish it without their child being, they're not supposed to fish it.
I already know where you're going with this.
It's meant for kids,
Trout.
right? Mm-hmm. And every year,
It doesn't make sense.
they dump thousands of trout in this little pond to just see your death.
Yeah.
See your death,
You're
trout.
going to live here for 3 days, and then you're going to die.
And on top, and so they host this weekend where all of the boys can come out and they can catch trout because you have to drive a while to get some good trout species. Like we have to drive.
No, there's actually one that's closer. Wallace Lake.
Again with the spot burn.
But it's a lake.
It's not a spot burn.
Okay.
It's stocked. It's
it's
very
one-
well
yeah.
known.
Oh, okay. Well, my point is
tiger trout even in there.
Well,
Some
we
crazy
need to-
species.
We need to go check that out. But my point is they fill this pond to the brim with some like trout.
Rainbow trout, yeah.
And it's like these trout are going to die. And on top of that, the weekend that they host this, these kids get to go fish. They can't keep the trout that they catch. They have to release it.
Really?
What in the world?
That is weird.
What is the
Yeah.
point?
All
And
right,
so our
that is
money
weird.
is
Literally
going
putting
to
them
just
in there to die.
they have to release them and so and then like months later you'll just see trout floating to the top.
Not even months later, like a week later.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's weird.
and so they become catfish food or bass food in the thing.
Oh, that kind of makes sense. I got a stranger one for you.
That's so dumb though. Why
I got
do
a stranger
that?
one for you. I used to work for the city of Charleston, West Virginia, for Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and there's a show about that, by the way.
Ron Swanson is my hero.
So I used to work for the Parks and Rec for the city of Charleston, and every fall when we closed the city pool, I forget the park name, but we closed the pool, the state would come bring trout, and we would host a trout fishing derby, whatever you want to call it, like for the kids at the pool, in the pool. Those fish are going to be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In hours.
Why?
Doesn't make sense.
But that, like, they let you take home, like
Is there like chlorine in the pool?
oh yeah, there was chlorine
Can
still in
you-
the pool.
That's such a West Virginia
There would
thing.
be dead fish. So, and then when we opened the pool the next year, we had to clean fish out.
That's gross.
Stuck in the filter. Just
Ugh.
smelly.
I can only
nasty.
imagine the smell. Yeah, that's so gross.
Yeah. Oh, next one. Sorry, we got stuck on that one.
Yeah, that was fun.
Let's pass the fishing tournaments one. Unexplained sounds in the wild, eerie mystery or natural explanation.
All of the above.
Yeah,
There's no one right answer to that.
No.
I truly believe that.
I would agree.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts. For me, like as an analyst, like I look at natural explanation, like just naturally.
So what's the natural explanation for the sound that we heard?
I was trying to figure it out.
Could
That's why I instantly like was starting to
Research.
like
He was, like,
researching stuff.
that scene on Bruce Almighty where he's like typing away, looking it up.
Instantly, like my analyst like mind just wants to find an answer.
We have no answer.
Campfire ghost stories, timeless tradition, or just for kids?
I think it's all in fun, I guess. I don't know about ghost stories, but fun stories. I would like to see them be based in reality.
So
Those are the best stories.
one thing that gets me with like the ghost story thing, and I guess I would say timeless tradition, but like if you look back through history, that's something that's recited over and over and over again is ghost stories. So is there something to that? I don't know.
Not just
But-
ghost stories too, but like storytellers.
Yeah.
That was a career.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, and it's kind of what we're doing with the podcast now. It's kind of evolved.
Cy
into a thing.
Robertson is a professional storyteller.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cy, we would love to have you tell us
That
some
would be
stories.
cool.
Come on the show or have us on.
Actually, so I kind of hate like the ghost story things. Like I just, from a religious perspective, like I just try to avoid it. I mean, however, we used to have this camp in Burgoo, West Virginia. It's Burgoo. And it's on the Elk River. It's way up in the mountains. And my mom and my stepdad at the time had bought a cabin there right on the river. I mean, it was 20 feet off the river, and we trout fished and stuff there. And they took a picture of the cabin one time, and I kid you not, I've seen the picture. I probably could find it, but there is an Indian woman standing in the door that came out in the picture. You could see like the tribal necklace and everything. And I saw this with my own eyes, and it was not somebody there. There was nobody there. It was a tribal Indian woman standing in the door.
We got a Patreon exclusive to continue this story.
So no, I mean, like I said, I mean, that's something that passed down through history. I mean, ghost stories are something that are told from generation to generation, like going back through history. Every culture has it.
I think we keep saying ghost stories. I don't think it's limited to that. I think it's just stories. Like,
Yeah.
When you tell a story at a campfire, you're sharing a bond. It's entertainment. Like I think it's the root of entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I don't know whether it's a ghost story or not. It's the root of storytelling.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. To your picture though, that's crazy. I mean, how can you explain that?
Yeah.
You can't.
There's no explanation.
So how did
It's
your
like,
logical mind wrap around that moment?
well, I kind of like understood and believed because it was very, very far from any populated area, way up in the mountains, right on the river. Like it just made sense. Like,
So
to me.
Under the lens and the worldview of a believer, how do you explain that?
I don't.
So here's where my mind goes with it. And again, I don't know if there is a biblical, answer to this, but we are taught in school that energy can't be destroyed or produced. It's just transfers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
I think that it's just it's weird.
There's not a good answer for it.
Yeah.
But don't be deceived, which is the point of this episode.
This 2-hour
That's
episode.
awesome. First 2-hour episode. That being said, we probably should wrap it up. So,
End on ghost stories.
end on ghost stories. No, the point of this episode is to just.
There's a lot of points.
There's a lot. Enjoy the show. No, my biggest thing is we can't be afraid to have these discussions, and there should be a safe place to have these discussions, and just understand that we don't have all the answers. Weird stuff happens all the time, and we can't just ignore it or dismiss it, but be willing to hear it and have an answer that is alignment in faith. We need to cast faith in every part of our lives, even the weird parts. And so if you're out there and you've experienced something weird, you don't have to feel alone or alienated. You don't have to live with the weight of that, but there's a place for you just to cast faith into those stories, cast faith into those things. Try to find an answer. Above all else, go to prayer about it. Maybe God is trying to teach you something through those moments. You know, all things work together for the good of the believers. And so we're protected. We don't glorify anybody but God. And so if the stories that we told, we want to make sure, and in the future, we make sure that we're not doing this to glorify the enemy. We're not doing this to bring power to the enemy,
Right.
But we're representing God, and we're giving him glory because me and David are here safe, even with our weird encounter, right? And so God kept us, in that moment. And he kept Sean when he fell through the ice. He kept Sean through his 4-wheeler accident. And so all kinds of things, God keeps us and he's there for us. And so the prayer of this episode is this. It's just don't be deceived when the weird things come. Don't be deceived. Have a level head. Bring it to God and cast faith in those moments. We want to thank David for being on the podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it. Subscribe, leave a review, tell us what you thought, give us some response in all the forums on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple, all of the places, YouTube. Leave a review on all of them. Help us to grow this thing. David, you could be found on Instagram. I don't know if you know your handle off the top of your head.
I'll have to look it up. I don't know.
We need to
That's
start.
hilarious.
David can be found at on
It is
Instagram.
David Hymes Jr.
Jr.
Yep. But it is private, so I
Oh.
may not accept you.
Okay, so
I'm not upset about that.
He's
It's
an
all right.
old man at heart.
it's all right.
I am.
He's an old
Old
soul.
soul.
Old soul. But anyways, thank you for listening for 2 hours. But join us next week.
Like, comment, and subscribe.